Hello, hello, and good evening. Tori, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Good night, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fifth. Tonight, I have with me my special guest, Tori Williams from Keep the Faith with Tori. That's her YouTube channel. If you haven't heard about her or heard from her, this is what she's about: positivity, spreading knowledge, and giving good people a chance. So, for those of you that do not know Tori, I'm going to let her introduce herself in her own way. All right, Tori, go ahead.
What to do? I am honored to be a guest this evening. I am a mother of a soon to be 20-year-old. I love life. I like being positive. I just love and just loving on people and just being I'm a giver by nature, and that's just basically who I am in a nutshell. I've been in media now for 25 years. Been doing radio for 25 years, been podcasting since 2019. And I currently also work at a hospital as well. So I am blessed and I'm grateful to be here. So I hope you can hear me and see me because you already know how my internet does sometimes.
I can hear you fine and I can see you fine. And it is apparent to me that you are grinding. You are grinding. And ain't nothing wrong with that. We got to work to live. We got to work to eat. We got to
Mhm.
work for shelter. So there's nothing wrong with a hardworking woman. So tonight, tonight, I don't even know if to say tonight's going to be spicy, if tonight's going to be, we're going to just let this thing flow the way that it's going to flow. So I'm going to
Mhm.
let Tori introduce the topic. And when you introduce the topic, just jump right into it and say, give us an intro. Give us an intro to the topic.
The intro to the topic is basically how do you deal with forgiveness after death?
Hmm.
How do you deal with forgiveness after death? And that could come in many forms. That can be as if you could have reached out to someone prior to their death and you chose not to, or someone was holding a grudge against you and they transitioned before you guys had the opportunity to make it right. And whoo, I am
Hmm.
actually on both spectrums of that. So I was like, yeah, this is a good topic. So
Yes, I was
basically,
gonna
yeah.
ask. I was gonna ask, are you on either side of those fences? Like, has the
Yeah.
person moved on and you need to be forgiven for something? And also, that person that has moved on, you seek forgiveness from them, but y'all just never got around to it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we could jump in, okay,
Hmm.
let's just talk about the other side first. Let's talk about someone that has transitioned, someone that has gone on. Y'all had a disagreement. Disagreements come, disagreements go. We hear it. It's cliche. Tomorrow is not promised, right?
Hmm.
You and this person had this, and it doesn't even have to be a disagreement. It may just be that people grow up, people go their own separate ways, and time just pass. And you haven't had time to see that person, tell them how you felt about them, or like you said, make amends about something, and they have transitioned on and you are here. How do you move forward with that?
Mm. Well, for me personally, the personal experiences that I've been through, I just had to forgive myself because there were a couple of people that the last conversation that we had, it probably wasn't the best. And so there were times where there were two people that I can think of that reached out to me, and I purposely was looking at my phone, saw my phone ringing, and did not answer. And
Hmm.
then I did make a decision to call one of them, return the call to one of them. I blocked my number so that they wouldn't know that it was me calling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And by them not knowing that it was me, because I'm one of those people too, I do not answer numbers that I do not know. So by me
Right.
blocking the number, they didn't answer. When they
Mm-hmm.
called me, I didn't answer. So by
Right.
the time I had made a decision to reach out to the person, come to find out, they had transitioned. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the people, their family was trying to reach out to me, but they could not reach me because I had changed my phone number and I didn't
Right.
give, didn't share the new number. So they were trying to reach me. So I actually called one of them. It was their birthday. And I said, what's going on with their phone? I couldn't reach them on their phone. So I finally reached out to a family member and I was like, well, Tori, we was trying to call you. They passed like what 2 years ago. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
what? Like
Yeah.
we was trying to call you, but we couldn't reach you. We didn't know how to get in contact with you. And I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
I felt bad.
So
And then
that's all. That. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just like I felt really, really bad. I felt really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why now I'm really big on always being mindful of how I treat people, how I talk to people. And the very last thing that I say to a person, like me and my son, we get along. We're like great friends now. We're the best of friends now. But every once in a while we may gonna have a disagreement or whatever. But
Of
regardless of
course.
what, the very last thing that we say to each other before we go to bed at night is I love you. When he's leaving home, I always say I love you. And even when I call him when I'm at work, when we getting off the phone, I tell him I love him. When I'm leaving for work, I always tell him I love him. So I'm very mindful of what I say, how I say it, when I say it, and how I treat people. And my thing is when I myself am mistreated by others, I have learned that um you forgive the person. I forgive quickly. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say, just because I forgive you does not necessarily mean I have to continuously to interact with you, because there are some people that will hurt you and you allow them back into your life, they will continuously to hurt you. So I don't, I'll forgive you because it is what I do. We are supposed to forgive, what is that, 70 times 70 per day?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean forgiveness mean reconciliation. So I'm
Right.
big on that. I'm not gonna hold no grudge. Like, I might be mad for like a minute or two, but I'm not gonna hold no grudge. But at the same time, I ain't gonna lie, I do fall back. But a
Right.
lot of times people interpret the quietness, falling back, they interpret it as that I'm
Right.
mad or I'm angry, when that's
Right.
far from the truth. I just like a lot of the times when I've experienced hurt from people, regardless of who it is, I
Mm-hmm.
have um find myself praying for them, because a lot of times people are can be mean to you because there may be something that they're going through, and I don't know
Absolutely.
what a person is going through. So I always look at it from a perspective, well, they may be going through something and they're taking it out on me. It's not
Right.
something that I did, but it's something that they're actually trying to, some people will try to project things on you, but those of
Right.
us, though, I will say this, those that truly know me, truly
Mm-hmm.
know the essence of Tori. They know
Right.
how I operate. They know how I am. But then there's still people that don't know who I am, and they're
Mm-hmm.
still going to say what they say. But I've learned to let it roll off my back.
Right.
Have I always been that way? No. I had to get to that point where you just let things roll off your back. People are going to
Right.
say, they're going to say what they're going to say. They're going to do what they're going to do. It is what it is. But, regardless of what I've learned, and this is something I've done over the years, even when I was in college, people that I love is not always going to necessarily love me back. And
Right.
I'm okay with that, because being a follower of God, we are called to love, we are called to serve, we are called to be there for others. And that's just what I do. That's just who I
Right.
am. And I'm one of those people that, like, you know how you have friends and, like, say you got, I'm friends with B and C, right?
Right.
B and C, and I'm A. And because C don't like B, because they don't like each other, doesn't mean I have an issue. Like, C want me to dislike B because that's very
Right.
childish and very
Right.
immature. So that's not how I operate. I try to, like, and then some people make the assumption, well, because you're talking to B, you must be talking to B about C, or because you're talking to C about,
Uh-huh.
no, that's not how I operate. One thing about
Right.
me, if you come to me about something, about somebody, and if they're not in the presence of us, what I'm gonna do is shut you down. I'm gonna show you
Right.
them. You're not gonna talk about C why they're not here to defend themselves. You're not gonna talk
Right.
about B why they're not here to defend themselves. And that's just, this is
Right.
how I operate. But
Right.
back to the subject at hand, the forgiveness piece after death. In some cases, it can be very difficult. Like, one
Mhm.
in particular was difficult for me because I basically made it, I was upset with a person based on assumption. And I had created a
Mm.
whole scenario in my head. And the scenario that I created, it wasn't even how it really, that wasn't even the case at all.
Right.
So that's why I've learned to just go to that person
Mhm.
and talk to that person. And then there's some people that I'm learning that you can try to talk to them, but they're not trying to hear what you're saying. So more and
Right.
more now, I just pray about situations. Sometimes I don't even
Right.
say, I may mention it, and there's people that you can mention the hurt, but they don't even
Mhm.
care. So I mean, sometimes I'm like, what's the point of even mentioning it? Just go with the flow,
Right.
just pray with them and keep it pray for people and keep it moving. But
Absolutely.
there's one in particular person that I can remember that I did not get the opportunity, based on my assumption. Like I said, I was mad based on an assumption that I did not get the opportunity to make amends. I feel bad, and even thinking about it now, I feel bad
Right.
because it wasn't nothing that they did.
Right. Now, how
But
long has this been?
oh, this person transitioned in 2020, 5 years
Okay.
ago. It's been 5 years,
All right.
but I had to forgive myself. And the type of person that they were, I'm sure they forgave me too, because it was a loving, very loving person. But
Right.
it's just, sometimes you just, that's just, just how life works sometimes.
Sometimes you get in the way and you can't see, and it goes for me too. Sometimes you get in the way and you really can't see what's before you, right? So you
Hmm.
say you've had a disagreement with this person. They were a loving person, but regardless of them being a loving person, you still felt the need to create a scenario. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if they're a loving person, you created a scenario that probably wasn't in their character in a sense because of your anger. So when you have a person like that, that is loving, when you have a person that may not be as loving as this person you're talking about, but these people have transition, and we have this thing where we call you want to get closure. How do you grieve for a person, or do you grieve for a person that has transitioned and you didn't have time to get that closure? How do you grieve, and do you grieve?
Absolutely. I do grieve.
Hmm.
And my way, what helps me when I grieve is I journal. Um, I talk to God. I listen to worship music, and I talk to that person as if they're still in the present.
Gotcha.
And sometimes I have actually had a situation where I've actually written a letter to a person. And of course, I can't mail the letter. They'll never
Right.
see the letter. Or
Right.
who's to say they don't see the letter? Because if they went above, then of course, who's to say they don't see it?
That's right. We don't know.
Yeah, but absolutely I agree. But
Mhm.
what helps me is just talking to God about it. Because there's some
Right.
things that you can't share with everybody because
Mhm.
everybody's not going to understand. So I have
Right.
a lot of talks with God, a lot of
Hmm.
talks with God. So
Yeah.
I talk to God a lot and I journal a lot. And sometimes when I reflect, because like one of the people, they have been gone now for 5 years,
Hmm.
and I look back on where I was when they first transitioned as to
Right.
where I am now. And I have grown, I have forgiven myself, but then there's sometimes I'll have a setback.
Right.
Like, Tori, that could have been avoided. You know, you could have talked to this person. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. So, like I said, I'm
Right.
very mindful of how I treat people now. Very
Yes.
mindful.
So in the moment of you going through this situation, right, and you saying you're being very mindful, but a lot of it is reflection. Like in the moment, this person or you and this person are not having this. You're not where you want to be, right? So you sit back and you reflect. You're grieving. You're going through your strategies. You're going through whatever it is you feel like you need to do to get you over to that person, because this is a person that you seem like you have amends with, right? I'm asking you, what about the people that you just felt like, even if they were here, if you've had this situation, even if they were here and you still carried that thing with you, how do you even get past that?
So you mean like grieving someone that's still alive?
I mean, just grieving someone that has passed on, because everybody that have
Cause you,
passed on and you didn't have any interaction with them, do you
mhm.
automatically just go back and say, you know what? They're gone. I forgive them. I'm grieving this way and I'm just going to let it go. Like the process is, yes, you go to prayer, but before you get to that part about the prayer, what is happening in between there? Like, what are some steps? How are you getting yourself to this part where you finally decide, you know what? It's time for me to forgive. What makes you realize that you need to forgive?
Ooh, what makes me realize that I need to forgive is when I start physically getting sick.
Mm,
When I hold on to unforgiveness, it makes me sick. I
right,
get sick in my body. I get headaches. I get like I can't eat. I have trouble sleeping. So when I get to the point where it's like that, I'm like, Tori, it's time to let it
yeah,
go. But what I also was going to say is that sometimes, because this is like going into a different direction of conversation, but sometimes you can be grieving those that are still physically here.
mm-hmm,
And because I'm actually going through some grief now with that, with grieving people that are still here. Like
right,
you want to reach out, but how to say, you want to reach out, but you don't think that it's a good idea to reach out. That makes sense.
right. I understand that.
Yeah, it's like there are some people that I want to reach out to, but I don't think that it would be a good idea. Sometimes we have to be mindful because I'm one of those people. I say that prayer, um, God, those that are not supposed to be in life, remove them.
Mm-hmm,
And some people I think were removed for a reason.
right,
And I feel like even though um I want to reach out to some people, I don't think it'll be a good idea to.
right.
Sometimes you have to let some doors stay closed.
Okay,
Like that,
okay,
as much as I much as I want to reach out, it that some doors have to stay closed. That's just how I feel about the situation. But I had to say that when you was asking me another question, I think I misinterpreted the question. But that's what I needed to say that because a lot of times we grieve people that the doors just have to stay closed. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Doors just
Right.
have to stay closed.
You're like,
'Cause
I'm gonna just leave it at that. I ain't going no
yeah,
further. Just keep
yeah,
that door shut.
yeah. But the thing is, a lot of times in those situations as well, I think people may think you're upset with them. You know how you could love a person or love people and you can love them and never talk to them again, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Right.
And there are people that I absolutely love, but I may not ever talk to them again in this lifetime.
Hmm.
And
So
I'm okay with that.
so when you those I mean, I'm trying to understand honestly when you talk about grieving people that are still here. Grieving them that are still here. Are you talking about grieving a relationship that you miss? Are you talking about grieving the emotional connection that you have with them? Are you talking about grieving just the day-to-day processes of I wish it could have been this way, but I'm going to leave it this way. So, how much are you grieving a person that is still here? What why do you call it grieving them?
It's everything you just said, the emotional connection, the bond that you feel like you had with that person, um, just the interaction with that person. Like to go from talking every day to not even talking at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I just everything that you just said
Right,
is all
right.
the above. Is like is some all of the above. Actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because he said, I mean, they say sometimes for people that have been married, divorce is like death, but the person is still here. So that's just a journey you have to go through. You have to figure out at this point, how do you continue to move on with
Hmm.
it's a loss, whether you left somebody or somebody left you. At the end of the day, it is still a loss. It's still an everyday part of life that you both were going through. So even for people that do not believe in a higher power, you know, there are people that when you get to a certain point, your spirituality can go out of the window, right? So I hear you say you pray, you journal. For a person that does not believe in a higher power, for a person that's just like, this person did this or I did this and this is what it is, so I'm just going to let it be. Do you believe everybody has the capacity to ever get to a place to forgive people even after they've gone? Have you encountered
Mm.
anybody that way?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think everybody has the capacity to forgive, but some people choose not to. Some people are so comfortable holding on to the grudge. Some people are so comfortable holding on to the hurt. Some
Hmm.
people are so comfortable of holding on because I know you've seen this that meme where it shows where you're holding on and you're hurting yourself by holding on instead of letting
Right,
go. And once you
right.
let go, you free yourself of the hurt. I think some people find comfort in the hurt. Some people find comfort
Mm,
in the pain. And some people like to play the victim
right,
and they find comfort in being a victim.
right.
And I just, for me, I feel so free when I make the
Hmm.
choice to forgive. I feel so free.
Yeah, well, they say forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. So when we decided that we were going to explore this topic of seeking forgiveness after death, that is, for me, that's pretty deep. That's pretty,
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of like you have to be able to get yourself into this space where you have to emotionally connect with yourself because the person is gone, right? You
Right.
can't have that conversation. You know, people go and visit the graveside of the person. They talk to that person, you know, like you said, they talk to God and they find different avenues. And like you said, some people hold on to the pain, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about some people remain the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Is remaining the victim, from your perspective or people that you've encountered, a defense mechanism to not really challenge maybe whatever wrong you had to play in this situation?
Ooh. Mm. Now there's some situations where I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong, but I didn't have the mindset at that time to admit that I was wrong. I was like, yeah, I'm
Right.
wrong, but I still ain't. I'm still. It's whatever, you know. And then there's some people now that I see years later. Like I've actually had dreams about some people. Now that, and I saw that comment. That is really good right there. Some people have trauma bonds.
Yeah.
Trauma
That's
bonds.
tough.
Oh my God. Those trauma bonds. Listen, Sandy, we gotta talk about that because that's a whole nother. Ooh, that's a
Skirt
ooh,
that car to the left. Cross all three lanes.
ooh, listen,
All three lanes.
them trauma bonds. Oh my goodness. But anyway, let me go back. Let me refocus.
That's
Let
a
me focus.
whole other
'Cause,
psychological thing
yeah,
we got to get
we
into.
got to definitely delve into that. That's a great topic, them trauma bonds.
Yeah.
But what I was about to say, I've actually had dreams of, there's one particular um family member I had that transitioned years ago. And I remember, and this wasn't bad. This wasn't anything bad blood or anything. This was one of my family members I love dearly, and
Right.
I promised him that I was gonna make it to his baseball game. And when he transitioned, because it was out the blue, he was killed in a car accident, and it
Mm-hmm.
happened all of a sudden. And I remember I was holding. I couldn't forgive myself because I was like, I kept promising him that I was gonna make it to his games, and I never made the time. I was so busy with life, just doing life. And so I remember I was going to the graveyard every day, like literally bawling my eyes out, going to the graveyard every day. And so he came to me in a dream, and he said to me, he said, Tori, I'm good. And it's
Right.
like before I saw his face, I saw like this light. I saw a light, and he came out of the light. And he said, Tori, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, I said, you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. And
Mm.
he looked at me, he smiled, and he walked back into the light. And after that, I was fine. And
Right.
then I've had another male friend that I went to school with, and we had bad blood. We did not get along. We had bad blood. Every time we saw each other, we fought. And so
Mm.
I had a dream about a huge snake. And in my dream, it was like one of those what do you call those? The anaconda. I had a
Woo!
dream. I had a dream about an anaconda.
You went big,
And
big.
yeah, when I had a dream about an anaconda, and I remember it being I remember it being in the backyard of my mom's house. I went outside and it was in the backyard, but it was dead.
Mm.
It was dead. So I found out the next day that he was killed.
Wow.
So there's like so many, and because sometimes things will come to me in my dreams. And like I even have dreams now where I have dreamed about people. I can see their faces. Now, this is a dream I had recently. I can see
Mm-hmm.
their faces. And when I see their faces, they're actually and I don't know, if somebody out there watching that's interpreting dreams, tell me what it means. I think I know what it means, but tell me what you think it means. But I
Right.
would see people's faces, and as I see their faces, they shrink into like a snake. their
Mm,
facial features start
right.
resembling snake like, and I don't like dreaming about snakes. I'm terrified of snakes. But it's like I can
Nobody
see
want to deal with
their
snakes,
faces.
period. Well, some people do, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
and then there's some people that I've had conversations with, and I can hear them talking, and then I can hear the hissing of a snake.
Mm,
So it's really weird, but yeah, it's really weird. I don't know.
mm,
I don't know. I'm
mm.
probably going way off the topic.
No, it's good. It's good because conversation is conversation. Let it flow the way the conversation is
Yeah,
going to flow.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's different. So that's why
Wow.
I'm real big on. I tell people all the time to forgive. And I remember I had a conversation with my son, and he said to me, he said, I've sit back and I'm thinking, I sometimes you don't realize what your children see, but we had a conversation. He said to me, I've seen people mistreat you. I see people slander you, and you still treated them with kindness. He
Dang.
said, I ain't there yet. He said, I'm not quite there yet. And I said, I keep telling him, I said, you'll get there.
Absolutely.
But I
At
just
least
feel
we
like,
hope that people can get there.
yeah, because I mean, I don't think that it's a good idea to hold on to grudges at all. I don't
Mm,
think it's a good idea. Just let it
mm.
go. Even if you don't like I said, if you don't even talk to that person, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Pray for that person. But when you
Right.
do pray about that person, what's up, Marvin? When you you talking about yo, but when you
Marvin just
pray
got to
about
the
that, when
party.
you pray
Welcome,
about
Marvin.
it,
Welcome.
but when you pray about it, pray a sincere prayer. Pray about
Yes.
that sincere prayer.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that I also do as well. I take the people that I've held unforgiveness to in the past, or they have had
Yes.
ill will towards me.
Mm-hmm.
I put their name, Marvin Marvin says, can y'all still see me?
Yes, you froze for a second. I was about to jump in, but you're back.
Okay. So my y'all know my internet, AT&T. But anyway,
Get them.
I was about to say, Marvin say you gotta let go, but I need time. But here's the thing, Marvin. I get what you're saying, but you don't know how much time we don't know how much time we're gonna be on this earth.
That's right.
So is you have to forgive quickly. I would say not to hold on to it. Um, not to hold on to it. Because we don't have that kind of time. We on borrowed time, and we don't have that kind of time. So
Marvin said,
really, Marvin.
Marvin said, that's not my fault. But, and I mean, but in all seriousness, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm reading the comments and Marvin's like, I need time. So I'm waiting for you to finish saying what you're saying. But this is true. There are people that's like, I just can't let this go. You know, like I need time. There's some people that are really not they really don't want to, or really is not thinking about the concept of being on borrowed time.
Mhm.
I wake up every day, I go to work, I live my life, I go work out, I go grab something to eat, I spend time with my family. And many people are not thinking about, I'm on borrowed time. Like tomorrow could be my time, the next second could be my time, you
Yeah.
know? So
Mhm.
Marvin's like in his own space, and Marvin, I could respect that.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. We are on here talking about, yes, you do want to get to a space where you do want to forgive, but on the flip side, that's your journey. If you're on a journey of forgiveness, then by all means necessary, you keep yourself on that journey. You walk in that light so other people can really see you become free. Because it's not to say that you're going to forget it, but what you're
Mm.
really journeying through is through some freedom. I'm walking in freedom. But,
Right.
while Marvin said, all seriousness, you should have thought about it. There are people that are like, yes, they should have handled me this way, and I'm sorry that they've gone on, but they shouldn't have handled me this way, and they are
Right.
okay sitting in it, that so be it.
Right. Right.
So it's really just on a person by person basis how you feel about it. It also, I believe, has a lot to do with experiences that you've had in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because it depends on, as you were coming up, if you were able to experience loss or
Mhm.
watch a parent that experienced loss from a person that they know they weren't jiving with. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, you never know what parents are telling their kids these days, but then
Right.
now you get into a space as an adult and you now have a disagreement or a misunderstanding with somebody else. Your first thing is probably not going to be to jump quickly into forgiveness because it's not what you were taught,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
You
Mm.
may learn it, but it's not what you were taught, and on the other side, even though you are forgiven, like anything else, it doesn't mean I forgive you and then all of a sudden my heart feels free. You know,
Right.
any type of forgiveness, you got to go back. You got to go back. You got to go back. You got
Mhm.
to keep forgiving and keep forgiving. And like you said earlier, 70 times 7 a day, 70 times 7. I mean, you just have to forgive. And like you said, that forgiveness, is for you because that person is done, and they've gone on. So
Mhm.
I haven't got to a place where I think there's a person, at least not that I can remember, there's a
Mhm.
person that have passed on and I've had a disagreement with them. You know what I'm saying? But there are people that have gone on, and it's not your regular, I wish I could have said this to you.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, that person would have loved to keep a connection with you. And
Mm.
for whatever space you were in your life, you just couldn't get to them. Like, for
Yeah.
the sake of being respectful to where you at, you
Mhm.
just did not make yourself presentable to that person, you
Yeah.
know. And then that person transitions, and then that person moves on. And in hindsight, you're like, I wish I had, but you have to be able to be content,
Mhm.
right? The reason
Mhm.
as to why you couldn't be there for that person at that time,
Mhm.
be able to move on. So that's a whole other thing where you don't even have animosity to that person, but you still kind of like, I wish you could forgive me for not coming when I know you wanted me there. You never verbalize it, but I know you wanted me there. So that you got to come to a place within yourself where you got to find a way to be okay.
Right. So, Sam, let me ask you a question. Can we go through the comments to Marvin? Because I want you to starting with you
I'm gonna
said
put them all up.
yeah, because I want to talk to Marvin.
All right. So we're gonna start here with Marvin. Marvin said,
You gotta let it go,
"You
but you
gotta
need
let go, but
time.
he needs time." Then Marvin said,
That's not
"It's
my
not his
fault.
fault." Then Marvin said, "Well, they should have thought about that before they did me wrong."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Marvin said, "All jokes aside, I mean, he's dealing with it as we speak. So this is real talk for Marvin." And he said, "Like I said, I forgive, but I wouldn't mean it right now." That's
Mm-hmm.
big. That's big. Like Marvin, that's okay. Like that's really okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
me, that is big of you to even recognize that, because what that tells me, like I just asked Tori, do everybody have the capacity to give?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Marvin is saying I can do it. I get it. But I got to do it when I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us can put a timeline on when something is going to mean anything to Marvin. So
Mm-hmm.
I could
Yeah,
appreciate being transparent for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then two
And
more.
yeah, go
Let me,
ahead.
the next one.
I said people do things knowing it's wrong, but then want you to forgive.
Mm,
Mm. That
that part.
part.
That part. That part, Marvin. That part.
Ooh. Mm.
How? How you deal with that, Tori?
Mm.
Intentional hurt, intentional pain, intentional disrespect, but
Mm.
it's all said and done. Forgive me.
Listen, people do things knowing it's wrong, but then want you to forgive. A lot of times, because I've actually, a matter of fact, since Marvin in the chat, let me say this. This is personal. This is me talking to Marvin.
Okay.
Marvin knows that at one point in time, and I don't care if they see this, one point in time, we shared a mutual friend. This person stopped talking to me, but they're telling the narrative that I stopped talking to them when that wasn't the case. And I be honest, I miss that friendship. But instead of us having a conversation, they chose to make a narrative. So people that used to talk to me, they got a band of people on their side against
Mhm.
me. And I'm okay with it. It hurt, but I'm okay with it.
Right.
So to say, what you just said, Marvin, people do things knowing it's wrong, but then want you to forgive them. And I actually made the decision. This person and Marvin knows what I'm talking about. That I made the decision to forget us a long time ago. But there's a
Listen.
narrative. And I did something. I'm like, what? Like
Yeah,
what?
you
But
breaking
anyway,
up, but it's all good.
what?
I'm
He thought we
laughing
had,
while you
listen,
breaking up. I'm gonna let you
Marvin,
come back
ain't but
in.
one. Marvin, you know who I'm talking about.
Listen, you said
You
it's
know who I'm talking about.
personal. Then Marvin said he wants you
Yeah,
to inbox him. But Marvin also said at some point he's gonna forgive him. But today just ain't the day.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
if he calls before then,
yeah. So this next one he said, yeah, at some point you want to forgive them, but today just ain't the day. So Marvin, my question to you is, at what point are you going to make a choice to forgive? Because at the end of the day, who do you think will be hurt more? You or that person? At the end of the day, free yourself. Whether that person is still going to be disrespectful or not towards you, that's a cross they got to bear. You do your due diligence and do what is right. And Marvin, your mama know God. So
oh,
you
it's
know
it's
the right
getting
thing to
real.
do.
It's getting real.
Listen, Marvin knows the right thing to do. So I say that, and Marvin is such a sweetheart. So I'm in some situations I hate that a person like Marvin, I hate when a person hurts them.
Right.
Um, but you gotta take the until I can get it takes some time for the pain. But in the midst of the pain being released, you gotta forgive. I know for me, when I made a decision to forgive, it didn't hurt as much. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's some cases where there's some people that they know they hurt you and they continue to do it. Like
Good.
they
So this
continue
is
to
the
do it.
part. So this is the part where you were talking about earlier. I know we were talking about seeking forgiveness after death, but you talk about also grieving people while they're still here.
Mm,
So when I look at Marvin's comments and he's like, at some point I'm gonna forgive him, right?
yeah,
And then he talked about if I can get the pain off, then I could get the pain
yeah,
off my heart.
yeah.
At some point, just go with me. At some point,
Mm-hmm.
Marvin, let's just say per se that pain that you feel in your heart probably no longer has anything to do with what that person did.
Mm.
What that pain is weight, and weight is a heavy load. So while I'm waiting for you to forgive, or I'm waiting, whichever way it's gonna be, I pass the day pass, you live with it. You really and truly holding on to something that you don't even need to hold on to. Because to be quite honest, if you have no intentions on speaking to them until they want apologies or whatever, you could just go ahead and forgive and squash that and live your life,
Mm.
right? Because they ain't nobody says that you have to forgive and then go back, dap them up, we good again. If I'm
Mhm.
living in my life and there's a person that I don't even talk to because of something they did to me, for sure, I just need to go ahead and forgive and go ahead and live my life. That's just a path we're gonna cross when we get to it. Because unless you see that person every day on the regular, quite honestly, you can still live your life and be okay. But if you don't see that person on a regular basis and you're holding on to this and not forgiving them, like you they say in the church house, you're really just drinking poison every single day, and you stopping
Mhm.
yourself from being free and releasing
Right.
it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So no apology is just betrayal and disrespect. That's fine. You cannot control
Listen,
what other people do.
I'm glad he said that because
Mhm.
I was just going to say that there are times also where there are people that are disrespectful, they betray you, and you didn't do anything to them, but they disrespected you, they betrayed you, and they mad at you because of how you reacted to their disrespect and their betrayal. And then they're pointing the finger at you, and you're just reacting from their disrespect and their betrayal. But at the same time, you still gotta forgive Marvin. I
Yes. And you know,
totally get it.
you
I
know what
totally get
happens
it.
in that space?
I got some people mad at me right now that were
Yeah.
totally disrespectful, totally betrayed me. And they mad at me because of how I'm acting towards their disrespect and betrayal. Like, talk to Tori.
Right.
Don't talk to somebody else. Talk to me
So so
directly
so this is
instead
a
of
space. So this is your
ooh.
space. To be honest, in
Mhm.
my place, the workplace, and what I do, this is a part
Mhm.
where you reframe your thinking, right? Somebody
Mhm.
does something, they want you to be the person that says, "Oh, you did something to me," when it's not you. In this
Mhm.
space between this person did something to you and this other space of we not having a conversation, in between that space right here, all you got to do is grow. That's all you're left to do is to grow. And it's not growth from them, it's growth for yourself. So when you
Right.
say, Marvin, forgive, that forgiveness is about growth. Because I'm honestly, like we said, I'm not forgiving you for you. I'm forgiving you for me, right? And the longer I hold
Right.
on to it, I stifle the growth that I could be making through this whole process. 'Cause at the end of the day, whether somebody has passed on or however, we had a misunderstanding, you still have to come to terms with yourself. And it's all about growth because it's going to be a change. No matter
Right.
what, you got to change and you got to evolve. And with change comes growth. So Marvin, take your time. I believe in you. I believe that you can get to forgiveness, but I would say to you, just go ahead and forgive. Forgive them for what they done, but most importantly, Marvin, forgive yourself for holding on to that mess for so long when you could have been free. You know, you could have been like that bird, just flapping your wings and going from tree to tree to tree and enjoying the beautiful scenes that's out there. So do it for yourself. Don't do it for them. Do it for you. Do it all the way for you. Free yourself. It's not worth it for you to live with this, because if tomorrow does not come, I don't want you to take this with you. It's not worth it. It's not worth
Mhm.
it. And they're still here, and you've held on and wasted your time grieving something that you really didn't have to grieve. So, man, Marvin, I just say forgive and free yourself. Let God take care of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
You
What
know,
was the last thing Marvin said? I'm looking at his
Marvin say
comment.
people say forgive, but
Forgiveness.
they don't tell you how to get to that point. But I know I gotta forgive.
Well, Marvin, like Sandy said, you have to, it's like a personal decision. So you have to get to that point on your own. Me personally, I have learned over the years how to forgive quickly. I don't believe in holding grudges, especially when I lost some people that they transitioned before we had a time, before we had a chance to reconcile and make amends, make things right, so to speak. Not necessarily reconnect, but we didn't get a chance. There was bad blood between us before, prior to their transitioning,
Yeah,
and we didn't get a chance to fix it. So that's why
and
now when I go through stuff, I try my best to fix things
right,
as much as I possibly can.
absolutely. And a lot of
Really,
people go through.
Marvin?
That's yeah. Marvin said he gonna just pull up and throw hands. You know,
Marvin,
yeah.
Marvin,
But
you
but
know better.
but on a serious note, a lot of people go through it. And yes, I know we started this conversation about seeking forgiveness after death, right? But life is
Mhm.
life and life is real. And you might want to say, I'm talking about seeking forgiveness after death. Well, show me how to forgive and how to seek forgiveness or give forgiveness while I'm still living. And that's also very important as well. So I knew this topic was going to be something that we were going to get into. I honestly didn't foresee it going this way, but this is the blessing of a podcast. There is no right or wrong in which way the podcast goes. As we said, we're going to empower and we're going to enrich. But Marvin, on a very serious note, get with Tori so Tori can get with me, Marvin. And if you are for real wanting to know how to walk down this journey, I'm not saying I have all the tools for forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? But I love people and I'm a human being. And if this is something that you truly want to walk through, I am here and I would be glad to walk through this with you. So if you're serious, get with Tori and Tori knows how to get in touch with me. And you know, I just made a friend. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
let's just go ahead and do this. So
Marvin, oh, I didn't know it was that about Marvin. No, it wasn't just focused. That was the main topic. But you know how our podcasts go, we go in different directions. So you good. But you said something that was very good. You said the topic. He said, "Why I gotta fix?" Remember, I made a comment, Sandy. I said, "Fix that." He said, "Why I gotta fix what I didn't break?" All I'm
right.
saying to you, Marvin, is just to do your part. That's all you can do. That other person, they have to answer to God or whatever they believe in. They have to answer to that. That's a cross they have to bear. But as long as you do the right thing, because Marvin, like I said, you know to do the right thing. Because you got a praying mama. So you know to do the right thing. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that, like I said, I get it. You hurt. You said when you get through
Yeah.
the pain, but in the midst of the pain, like I said, for me, everybody's different. But in the midst of the pain, I found healing in forgiveness in the midst of
Absolutely.
the pain. And once I start to let go and to forgive, it didn't hurt as much.
Right.
But what bothers me is when people do things like you said earlier, Marvin. They're disrespectful and they do things to hurt you and they act like they didn't do anything. What bothers me is when people do things, they say things, they mishandle you, and instead of talking to you, they talk to other people when they should be talking
Right.
to you. And then not only that, they act as if nothing ever happened. I get that sometimes everything does not need to be addressed,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes you can't just act like stuff that didn't happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I
Absolutely.
just,
Absolutely.
and
That's
if I
hard.
have, yeah, because if I have a issue, I just try to address it and nip it in the bud, but you can't hold on to the unforgiveness
for
at
sure.
all. Mm-mm.
And
What's up,
Marvin, I want
Cynthia?
yeah, hey Cynthia, Miss Robinson. And Marvin, I just want to give you a different perspective when you say, well, I gotta fix what they broke. Let me just give you a different perspective. You're not fixing anything that they broke, that they've broken. Only you can allow somebody to break you. So you're not fixing anything that they're broken. What you're actually doing is giving yourself permission to grow. So when
That's
you can
good.
forgive and move on, you are giving yourself permission to grow. It's not about what they broke. Because if you feel that something is broken, forget about them. Look at yourself and say, why do I feel this way? How do I get me back to me? And give yourself permission to go through these feelings that's going to get you back to a place where you no longer feel broken. And it's not going to be overnight.
Right.
You just got to do the work on you, because people know how to push your buttons. And yes, that is true. But like I said, you can't fix what's broken. You can only give yourself permission for you to grow, for you to overcome and be able to ignore situations and keep moving forward. So Marvin, I wish you well. I appreciate your participation in this chat. Tori, give us some
Mm.
closing words. So we start with seeking forgiveness after death, but I just want you to talk about and wrap this up in about a 2-minute spiel on forgiveness. Go.
2 minutes.
Wrap it
Two
up.
minutes.
Go.
First of all, I think there should be. I hope I'm not freezing because I'm freezing up on my end. Am I good?
Yeah, you good. For
Okay.
me, you good.
So basically, from my perspective, when it comes to forgiveness, I think there should be open communication. I think you should talk to people and let them know how they made you feel. Because there's one, you remember I said a little while ago that I wanted to reach out to someone, but I don't think that's a good idea. We had a
Hmm.
conversation when I let them know, well, this makes me feel this way, that makes me feel that way. But when I express how I felt, it's like they didn't accept or was not receiving it. But when they told me things that how what things that I did and they didn't feel a certain way, I accepted and I received it and I tried to make them prove. So I would say definitely have open communication. Let people know how they make you feel. And don't just I don't think now I used to be like this, but I don't think cutting people off is always the answer. Sometimes we think we can just cut people off, stop talking, block people, and that's the answer. That's not all. That's not a solution.
Right.
Avoidance is not a solution. So
Right.
I think you should talk, resolve, and even if you come to the conclusion that you have to walk away, then walk away.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
everybody is not going to be in your life for a lifetime. People come for a reason, and people come for a season. And yeah, and Cynthia said it's not always an answer. Sometimes you need to communicate with them. Yeah, it's not the answer because I was
Absolutely.
bad about that. You do something to me, cut you off,
Right.
block you, and I don't even. And the thing about it, I wouldn't even tell people why. I'll just cut them
Hmm.
off with just cut them off and just not have that communication. So I would say communicate, communicate, communicate. Because and then when it comes to let me also speak on the perspective of a child, a parent and a child. When it comes to the parent and the child, like, and I'm talking from a perspective for me and my son, I had to realize that sometimes it wasn't just me being what's the word, authority figure or being feel like I'm
Authoritative.
overpowered. Yeah, I had to realize he has a voice too. And he
Right.
said like certain things I don't want to say because I feel like you're gonna you know what I'm saying, just jump on
Fact.
my neck. But yeah, I'm like, no. So my son had to teach me to be gentle when it came to parenting because I would always like fly off at the handle. And having open communication has helped me and my son's relationship tremendously. Like I listen to him a whole lot more now. So I think the biggest thing is to communicate and to tell people how you feel and don't hold on to things and understand that sometimes it's okay to walk away, and it's okay to not wait on an apology that you'll never receive. If you
Right.
can't walk, and I say this all the time, if you can't walk in love, walk away in forgiveness.
Woo! Say that again.
If you can't walk away, if you can't walk in love, walk away in forgiveness. And pray for
Good.
people. And you don't have to, they don't have to even know that you're praying for them. I just pray for people, just and they don't even know I'm praying for them. And like sometimes there's some people, there's one particular person I could think of. They were in the midst of saying some mean things to me, actually with my job. I was on the phone with a person, and this person just literally just cursed me out. I was actually trying to help them, and they literally just start cursing me out. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And I was like, listen,
That
like you
is
can't
fire now. That's fire, Cynthia.
listen.
I'm with you.
So, and so they were like in the midst of cursing me out, and I just let them say what they had to say. And then I said, well, is there anything else I can do to assist you? And he said, the person said to me, he's like, I sit here and I cursed you out, and you still treated me with kindness. He's like,
Mm.
ma'am, I am so sorry. Like I am truly sorry. I say it's okay. I said I love God and I love you
You
too.
know,
And I said God loves you even more. And he
right.
was like, wow. And he was like, hey, he felt really bad because he really cussed me out real bad. I was just trying to do my job and help. And he just and I said, and after I got the call, I was like, you have to understand, we don't know what people are going through. We don't
Right.
know that they what they're battling with on a day-to-day basis. So we
Right.
just have to just forgive people. You know how when God was hanging on the cross and he had to be, yeah, on both sides, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Preach. Preach now. Go ahead and preach now.
They know not what they do. So just continue to forgive people, love on people, because that's what God called us to do. He called us to love on people. He called us to be servants. He called us to just be kind to people. And like I said, just
Mhm.
walk in love. And by understand now, everybody is not going to be receiving of your love. And that's okay. Just pray for them. And
Yeah.
Cynthia says, absolute. Oh, my bad. Put Cynthia
Go ahead.
comment there. My bad, My bad, Sandy. This your show. You're supposed to be reading the comments.
No, you good. Keep going. You good.
Cynthia says, absolutely something. Sometimes we catch
Catch
the
the fire
fire from
from
other
other battles.
battles. I do not best. Put it back up there. I
Yeah.
didn't finish reading it. Um, the last comment. Absolutely. Sometimes we catch the fire from others' battles. I do my best to remember that daily. Absolutely. Because you just never know what a person is battling. And I've noticed that sometimes people can get mean when they're battling depression, when they're battling illness. I've noticed that about, I just I observe a lot, and I'm very careful with what I say. And then sometimes if I can recognize it, I'll just be gentle with that person. And
Right.
although everybody's not going to be receiving of the gentleness, and I know that I've been way over the 2 minutes. I'm sorry, Sandy, it's way over the 2 minutes,
Preach.
but everybody is not open to the gentleness. Everybody is not open to the love. But that's the only way I can live my life. I can only
Right.
love people how God called me to love. That's the
Amen.
only thing I can do. And I'm not going to change who I am for people. I'm
Love
not.
it.
So
This is
I thank Marvin so much for being so transparent. That was very huge for him to be transparent and
very
say that he's not
transparent.
there yet. So just Marvin, just take your time. Take your time
Yes.
with it. Like I
Yeah.
said, take your time. And like I said, but once you forgive, you're gonna feel so much better. It's gonna be you gonna be once you get to the point sometimes where you forgive and you're unbothered. Because when you're going
Ooh.
through sometimes you're going through the pain, you don't want to see that person, you won't ever talk to them. But when you get to the point where you forgive that person and you're unbothered, you can talk to that person and even give that person words of encouragement, give that person advice. even be for that person
Right.
what they can't be. You can be to that person what they can be for themselves. So
That's right.
you never know how God is going to use you in that situation. And always step back and say, what can I learn from this situation? None of us
Mhm.
deserve for people to hurt us, but I step back now, like, what can I learn from this situation?
Right. Right. Right.
So Marvin, I'm be praying for you. I'll be praying for you because I know you can do this. Because Sandy,
What you
Marvin
say,
come
Marvin?
from
What you say, Marvin?
praying. Listen, Marvin
You
talking you
acting
acting
like
them folks at
folks
a
at a
funeral.
funeral. You said, but Marvin, you gotta remember when I told her 2 minutes, she said, "What? 2 minutes?" Hey, let him use you. Let him use you. Let him use you. That's all I say.
No, Marvin did not come for me.
Yes, he did. But Tori, I thank you, Tori.
Yes,
I love you. Thank you for being on
yes.
here. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you taking your time this evening. I appreciate everybody in the chat taking their time this evening. All right. She's Tori. I'm Dr. Sandy. And thank y'all for joining us on the 5th. See y'all next Tuesday.